A classic game for you here, one that many players have never had the chance to play, but one that die-hard Sonic the Hedgehog fans would be smart to seek out. In the late 1990s, the mascot racer was a big thing, with Mario Kart 64 dominating multiplayer game sessions, and the likes of Crash Bandicoot, Diddy Kong, Bomberman, and even Atari Karts getting in on the action. With Sonic known for his speed, it was a natural fit for everyone's favourite blue blah to speed into a race. Now, the truth is, there had already been 2 Sonic kart racers released on the Sega Game Gear, and whilst these were okay for handheld games, they weren't the Mario Kart beta that Sega fans wanted. Enter Sonic R. Released exclusively on the Sega Saturn, and also on the PC, the game changed things up with most characters running on their feet instead of being in carts. In fact, only Amy Rose is in a traditional cart, with Dr. Robotnik also being in a vehicle, like his flying Dr. Eggman, whatever the heck it is that he's in. But most of them, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and a few other characters that you can unlock along the way, all race on their feet. The game plays somewhere between a kart racer and a 3D platformer, and whilst I like the game a lot, truthfully, it doesn't play as a great example as either a kart racer or a 3D platformer. That doesn't mean it's a bad game, it's not quite the best of either. The characters control more like they are cars for the most part, and this is a bit odd considering they're mostly on foot. It is cool that they have their usual moves from the platform games though. Tails can fly, Knuckles can glide, Sonic can double jump, and look, even Dr. Eggman can fire off a weapon and shoot at you. The game still sees you collect rings and have the challenge of picking up coins and Chaos Emeralds. It's like a supercharged version of the 3D bonus stage from the likes of Sonic 2 on the Mega Drive. Now, the biggest letdown of the game is that there are only 5 stages. So yes, it's not like Mario Kart 64 that gave you 16, or something like Diddy Kong Racing or Crash Team Racing that gave you like a hub world to drive around and then all kinds of battle stages and all this kind of stuff. No, it is literally just the 5 stages. Now, if you've ever played this game, I'm sure you'll have had the theme music from the title screen stuck in your head at one time or another. Now, some may not like it being a sung Sonic the Hedgehog intro, but I genuinely love it. And basically, there are songs that come up on each track, and it was just really cool back in the day, because after the Mega Drive games, where it was just the iconic Sonic songs, or tracks I should say, suddenly having ones with sung lyrics to it seemed a nice change and seemed like an upgrade for the move to the 32-bit consoles for our favourite blue blah. Now, one weird thing is that the title song is called Super Sonic Racing. Everybody's supersonic racing. You know, I won't sing. I really shouldn't ever sing, but you'll definitely know it, and now it'll be stuck in your head again. Now, it makes me wonder if the game was at one stage going to be called Supersonic Racing, but instead it was just called Sonic R. But don't worry, because on the title screen where it says Sonic R, the shiny R is something that you can spin around and move with the control stick. Or D-pad, I should say, as most people playing this probably did play it with the traditional Sega Saturn controller. The fact that you can move it around and spin it is cool because you see some reflections of the characters in it, and it was a neat little touch that you started seeing in this era of games, like how you could move the Star Fox logo in Lilac Wars / Star Fox 64, and pulling Mario's face around in Super Mario 64. You can play as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy Rose. You can see that there are 5 characters to unlock, and that one of them is Dr. Robotnik. And yes, I'm saying Dr. Robotnik because this was before Sonic Adventure released, and everyone started calling him Dr. Eggman. The stages are fantastic looking for a Sega Saturn game. This was quite possibly the first game where you got to run around one of the big loops as Sonic in 3D, and it meant that you didn't just have one layer of rings to pick up in the loop, and there would be multiple layers of them that you could pick up on the various laps that you'd be doing. But it also showed you what the potential was of a 3D Sonic game. One loop can have lots of rings for multiple playthroughs. If you pick up enough rings, you'll also see doors midway on the track that can be opened for a shortcut. At the time that this released, this game felt so much more like a proper 3D environment that you'd get in a 3D platformer than what you'd find in a racer like Mario Kart 64. Even though that game had a lot more tracks, these felt like stages from Super Mario 64 with multiple paths and secrets to find. Now, there are 5 Sonic coins in each stage, and also a Chaos Emerald that you'll be trying to pick up. If you manage to pick up all 5 of the Sonic coins and come in the first 3 out of the 5 races, you'll get a chance to go against one of the hidden characters, like Metal Sonic or Puppet Tails. If you manage to beat them in the race, then you'll get to play as them thereafter. Now, this instantly tells you that not only are you aiming to come first in each race, that you'll want to do multiple playthroughs to unlock all of the characters. Now, it is a shame that in Grand Prix mode, you only go against one level at a time, and you don't have a mode where you go across all of the different levels to try to get like 9 points for coming first, 7 points for coming second, and so on and so forth, like you usually do in Mario Kart and that type of game. Now, with just 5 tracks in the game, it's understandable that they didn't include that type of mode, but they could have added more to the game if there'd been at least 2 cups, with one of them being normal and the other being a mirror mode cup. That would have given you something to play through and have like a longer session playing the game, rather than just doing one level and then deciding, shall I do another one level or not. Now, even though this game is a racing game, there is something about the exploration and wider levels that make it feel a better 3D Sonic platformer than his actual 3D games often do. It's just a shame that the controls feel a bit more like you're controlling a car. Now, I think this game would have been better if Sonic had controlled more like he does in the Sonic World stage in Sonic Jam. Super Mario 64 has a few stages that feature foot races, and I think there is, to this day, a lot more room for games that are racing games but basically play like 3D platformers. If I could make one change to the game, it would be that you press an action button to accelerate and run forward, rather than having to hold down the up button, which just feels awkward when you then have to rock your thumb left and right to turn left or right while still holding down the up button. I can imagine that if you could remap the controls, it would make a world of difference. I might actually try that one day. I also do like that the game is kind of uneven in that Amy is in a cart, Robotnik can shoot, and other characters are on foot, and some can fly, and it's just a weird, wacky racist style event where it's completely uneven and an unequal playing field. Having most of the unlockable characters just be metal or puppet or weird versions of the regular characters is a bit of a shame, as it would have been cool if they'd included like a different Badnik or a boss from a past game, or even used someone like Vector the Crocodile from Knuckles Chaotix, which was still a relatively new game at the time. The last level, Radiant Emerald, is perhaps the most samey visually, but it is a treat to look at, with the 3D transparent type effect they've got, where it is kind of the equivalent to Mario Kart's Rainbow Road. The final stage almost feels a bit like a bonus unlockable in itself, as there's no Sonic coins or Chaos Emerald to find. Now, the last couple of characters you can unlock are Eggman and Super Sonic, who is much faster and just glides along the track. You feel very overpowered once you have Super Sonic to play as. And he looks cool. The game did find its way to PC at the time, and thanks to this, it also did later find its way onto the Sonic Gems collection that was released, I believe, just on GameCube and PS2. But unfortunately, the game hasn't been seen since. Not even the PC port has been ported to other things later down the line. I'd love to see a new version released on modern platforms. Either a straight port or something of an update or a sequel with new tracks and new characters. Look, it is weird to think that this is a game that is old enough that we didn't have the likes of Shadow the Hedgehog or Cream the Rabbit anywhere to be found, as they hadn't been created yet. So I think it is about time that Sonic R got a new lease of life and had some of these modern characters and modern upgrades and perhaps a bit more platformy kind of controls rather than the racing kind of controls. I think it would be a really good game, and the Sonic racing games that have followed since just don't give you the sense of it being Sonic racing because he's really fast. It keeps putting him in cars. I want a new Sonic R game where he's racing on foot. So that's going to wrap things up for this video. If you haven't done so already, I would appreciate if you would smash that subscribe button here on the Geek Battle Gaming YouTube channel. Also, check out all of the other videos on the channel, and also go over to www.xstreamed.tv/gaming for the written article version of today's discussion. And with that, until next time, stay safe, always stay extremed, and ciao for now. Boom, and we're off the air.